psychological coherence. Okay? They don't understand it. And as a result, they accidentally counter manifest themselves out of everything that they're trying to manifest. In other words, what we're talking about is we're talking about your subconscious believing something, okay, for an example, and you trying to pray for something or manifest something, and it's not working, it's not turning out. And good morning, good morning, good morning. Wow, thank you. Good morning, Jay. Good morning, guys. And the reason why it's not turning out is because there's psychological conflict. Okay, that's what we're talking about. Okay, it's basically when your thoughts, emotions, bodily responses, and actions, okay, work together instead of fighting each other. That's what we call psychological coherence. Okay, so you have to be coherent. Okay, so what it is internal alignment. Okay, I keep telling you guys, right? So conscious, subconscious, superconscious, the three states of awareness in here. Okay, when they're in alignment, working together instead of working against each other, everything comes, everything's easy. Okay, so what happens is we start to, have alignment, right? Everything works together and then things just come. Okay, now I'm not talking about magic. This is not magic. Okay, but I'm talking about things come easily. So in my life, things come easily. Do I have to wait? Yeah, sometimes I have to wait. Okay. But I don't stress. I hardly ever stress. There's things I get disappointed in, of course. I'm a human being like everybody else. But for the major stuff, what I do is I observe it and I go, well, this is interesting. And I just wait and I watch. So this morning I did a half-hour meditation. This morning. And in my meditation, I just observed. I was just the observer, okay? And I was shown things, okay? Now, yes, this is my imagination working, right? Okay, but I was shown things, and I was sitting there going, this is interesting, okay? I had my distractors closed, okay? Okay, so close your eyes. When you meditate, just sit there, be still, and certain things will pop up. So this was really interesting. I did a meditation one time, right? And, I have psychological coherence the majority of the time. It happens to the best of us. Sometimes that happens, okay? Where I'm not fully on board with something and I'm trying to manifest that situation or that thing or whatever, okay? And one of these times I was sitting there in the car, which I thought was my car, with this lady, right? And, I thought it was my car. And what happened was I actually went to lunch with this person and we ended up going to her car. Now, what are the odds that she had the same kind of car that I had? Okay, so we go to her car and I go, wow, you have the same kind of car that I do, different color, okay, same make, same model. And she goes, oh, come in. So I get in her car and we sit there in the parking lot just talking after lunch. And her car is exactly what I saw in my meditation, but I thought it was my car. What are the odds of that happening? Okay, that's synchronicity. So when you have psychological coherence, that means your internal alignment of thinking, feeling, and psychological state, okay, allows your brain and nervous system to operate harmoniously and efficiently. That's what it means. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, it's not very difficult. Okay, affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. Okay, because you need your conscious, subconscious, and superconscious in alignment. Okay, you need to have it in alignment because if you don't, you're not going to manifest what you want or who you are. Why is that? Because doubt and fear will get in the way. Okay, there's a bunch of stuff that you can branch off into the fear category, into the doubt category. Okay, there's a lot of things like that. Thank you. Hey, Jeep Dude, good morning. Good morning. We have a chat on this side over here. We're on 7 platforms every morning. And we don't necessarily name all of them because of the algorithms that might, you know, push us off into the desert. So we don't normally mention it. But anyway, we're all over the place, and you can message us. Okay, you can message us for or email me. It's junior@hereforyoulifecoaching.com, and I will answer your email if you have questions. Okay, so when your thoughts, emotions, bodily responses, and actions work together rather than fight each other, okay, things happen for you, okay? And most of the time, it's just relaxing, okay? And I say relaxing because relaxation or confidence, okay? So confidence is that relaxed, laid back, chill kind of feeling. Okay, that's confidence because it's the absence of anxiety, right? When you're feeling anxious, you're not relaxed. When you're feeling fear in any form, okay, worry, right? Despair, grief, guilt, shame, you're not relaxed. Okay. Especially like resentment. Okay, resentment is a small degree of anger that exists below the surface. Okay, that gets triggered every once in a while. Okay, and it's like a small degree of it's an underlying current, resentment. So when you resent something, it's always there. Okay, so resentment is it's very important to resolve resentment. Okay. Now, sometimes, there's 12-step programs that say, well, you have to go to the person, you have to, work it out and apologize or whatever, or, settle it kind of thing. I'm here to say you don't have to do that. You can do that in here, but you need to do it. Okay. You need to call it to mind and resolve it. Okay. You have to forgive. When you forgive for yourself. You're not forgiving for the other person. Okay, what you're doing is you're releasing that bond because it's a bond. Okay, what you engage with, you join. Okay, so it's an energetic bond. It's in here. Okay, you're not your body, you're not your name, you're that energy that lives in here. Okay, and when that happens, good morning, good morning. And when that happens, okay, you join with whatever it is, okay, that you're thinking about, and that becomes your reality. Okay, but when you forgive it, you're releasing it. You're saying, okay, I let this go. I forgive this. I let it go. And when you let go, just let go. Now you may need to remind yourself to let go. You may need to write affirmations of letting go for that particular thing. Okay, but that helps you because it opens the door for new things to come in, for better things to come in. Okay, psychological coherence involves strong communications between your three brain systems. Okay, the prefrontal cortex, okay, which is your conscious mind. Your conscious mind only is responsible for 5% of the decisions that you make in your life, of the actions that you produce. Okay, it selects targets, which is really useful, but 95% of your life is subconscious. Okay, a lot of people are sleepwalking and they don't even know it because they're programmed in their subconscious. Okay, they know what they're doing. Okay, but a lot of times they just go through the motions, and then they wonder, like, why am I not getting this out of life or that out of life? Okay, I'm just here to wake you up. That's all. I'm here to explain the process so you can be aware of the process and you can change it. Okay, some people don't know why they react like they do. And then they go to therapy, right? So that a therapist can tell them, you know, what they're doing. Okay. And that's the definition of insanity. Okay. So when you keep doing the same things over and over, expecting a different result, that's called insanity because it cannot happen. Okay, can you do like a random action and get a random good result? Yes, you can. Of course you can. But if you want lasting change, if you want lasting good actions that create lasting good results, affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. Okay. So these systems that we're talking about, right? Prefrontal cortex, okay, limbic system, okay? We're also talking about the autonomic nervous system, okay? And these things all have to work synchronistically together. They all have to be in alignment. Okay, so how do you do that? Well, your autonomic nervous system controls your stress slash relaxation. Okay, cortisol levels. Okay, it also involves the amygdala, which, like I always tell you, you have 6 seconds to dismiss your thoughts, your negative thoughts. Okay, so you have 6 seconds. So you think a negative thought, okay, you can observe the negative thought, right? You can understand the negative thought. But then you have to say, okay, stop, and allow it to pass. So what I do is I use my vision board. Okay, I have a vision board on my phone, on my lock screen. And many people have their dogs on their lock screen, their children on their lock screen, their significant other on their lock screen, okay? So if this is you and you have these on your lock screen, then all you have to do is say stop and refocus and pick up your phone and look at your lock screen. Okay? Look at your lock screen and now focus on what you see. And it should be you should have just 2 things on your lock screen. Things you love and people you love. And that includes your pets. Okay? And when you do this, you're going to find that you don't experience the negative thought. Because first you get the thought, then you get the response, the emotion. You feel the thought. Okay? So first you get the thought, then the emotion follows the thought. Now, after 6 seconds, what does the amygdala do? It starts giving you variations on what ifs. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? What if that happens? Then what happens? Then the monster gets bigger and bigger. Okay? The monster gets bigger and bigger, and then what? Well, have you ever been in a situation where you start thinking about stuff and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse, and then you actually get to that point? Or, like when I was a kid, my mom used to tell me, wait till you get home, right? My amygdala used to go crazy. Like, what's going to happen when I get home, right? And when I got home, it was like a 25-minute ride. And by that time we got home, she cooled off. She didn't do anything to me. But at that point, I was like, wow, I worried about nothing, right? And this is the thing. You're going to waste time worrying about things that you shouldn't even worry about. Okay? And this is the serenity prayer, right? Okay? Don't worry about things you cannot control. Okay, so it's the time that you spend preoccupied in this what if state that's not good. Okay, so when you're let's take for example your sympathetic, right, is fight or flight. Your parasympathetic, and we're talking about your autonomic nervous system, is rest, repair, and healing. Okay, so if you're not in fight or flight, you can spend that time in repair or healing. Okay, in coherence, these systems balance. Okay, in coherence, you have a balance. You have a well-balanced system. Why? Because you're not leaning towards fear all the time. If you're leaning towards fear, okay, let's say if fear is the topic in the subconscious, what happens? Well, everything that happens, right, because of your negativity bias, human beings have negativity bias, everything is negative first. Okay, that's evolutionary. Okay, we want to identify the threats. But because of negativity bias, people don't understand why they're sucked into this negative stuff. But your subconscious memorizes negative. Your subconscious goes, oh, we're being negative? Okay. And it becomes a part of your personality. And now, every little thing that happens, you not only suspect it, you react towards it. You become reactionary. Okay? because you're trying to identify a threat below the surface in your subconscious. And you get in the habit of being negative. I mean, you see these people all the time. They react towards everything, right? They're attacking. They're in attack mode because they get triggered. Okay, what triggers them? Things in their subconscious, unresolved issues in their subconscious. So it's things that remind you of something that happened, things that remind you of trauma. Trauma is just an emotional event that sticks out farther than normal. Okay, it was a big deal, right? Okay, so anything that reminds you of that, or anything that could potentially lead to that result or that situation, you start reacting towards. Okay, so let's talk about the limbic system. Okay, this is your emotional center. Okay, your amygdala, okay, detects threats and drives emotional reactions. If it's not under control, or let's say it another way, if you don't relax it, okay, how do you relax it? Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization, okay, and it works. A lot of people think that their subconscious doesn't work like that. A lot of people think that, well, if I write an affirmation, that's not going to do any good. If I meditate, that's not going to do any good. No, these are scientific things that work. And it's because human beings are highly impressionable beings. Okay, so when a human being starts writing, it goes right into your subconscious. It takes about 2 weeks. Now, if you're not faithful for 2 weeks, if you can't write a sentence for 2 weeks, every morning, when your brain is in theta state, so theta is fully relaxed, if you can't do that for 2 weeks, okay, yeah, it's not going to work. But at that point, you have made that decision. Okay, you have made that decision to, like, okay, well, we're not going to do it. And of course, you have that option. But then you keep going in circles. I always use the cookie analogy to explain to people how susceptible you are to a new program, to a new belief, to a new habit. Let's call it a habit. Okay, so you go to a party, right? And if you've heard this, just bear with me. Okay, so if you go to a party, right, you see a bunch of cookies, like a tray of cookies. Oh, can I have a cookie? Oh yeah, help yourself. You have a cookie. That was good, right? Pretty soon, like, can I have another? Oh yeah, help yourself. Pretty soon, right, before the end of the party, it's like, where do you guys get these cookies? Oh, we get them at Costco. Oh, okay. In a couple of days, you find yourself standing in line with the bag of cookies at Costco, and guess what? You have a cookie habit. You don't see it like that, right? You just see that, well, these cookies, yeah, I like these cookies, okay? Now, I'm not saying you're addicted to cookies at that point. I'm saying you have a habit, okay? It's something you enjoy that you repeat. Anything done in repetition goes into your subconscious, whether you think so or not, whether you like it or not. Anything you repeat. So if you do it over and over again, guess what? Keeps going in your subconscious. Then what does your subconscious do? It repeats. Okay. So how does this work with the limbic system? Well, when your limbic system is incoherent, that's when it triggers fear, stress, and overreaction. Okay. So what happens when it's coherent? It processes emotions without overwhelming you. You still, okay, so you can have the thought, you can observe the thought, okay, the thought comes and the thought's leaving now, and you can see the emotion, you can feel the emotion's leaving, and you've chosen not to think the thought. You have 6 seconds. Are you going to feel the emotion before 6 seconds? Yeah. Yeah. When's the last time you had a negative thought? How fast did you how fast did you feel the emotion? In about a second. Now, if you let that continue for 6 seconds, then the amygdala starts to kick in. You see? Okay. So a lot of fear, and if you go to a therapist or a doctor, if you go to an MD, they'll say, "Oh, here, take some of these." Okay, I'm not making medical claims, but many of my clients have gotten off medicine. Stuff like Xanax, stuff, that kind of thing. And they get off of it pretty quick. And we're talking about like 4 or 5 months. So you can do it that way. That's the easy way, right? But when you, let's see, Jeep Dude, I have done what I thought was the outside work, but it has not changed me in the way I want. Yeah, you got to do inside work. Yeah, Jesus loves you too. Yeah. So we're explaining the psychology of it. You have a subconscious, believe it or not. What's her name? Kula. Kula. So this is how your biology is set up. Okay, your amygdala regulates or gives you negative feedback, but it alerts you when there's a threat. Okay, and this is all evolution, like I said. Okay, it's all evolution. So when you have inner conflict, how does that affect manifestation? Let's say it another way. When you set a goal, what interferes with your goal being realized? Well, inner conflict. What does that mean? Well, when you say, when you're praying for something. So this is why I always say, when you pray for something, if your subconscious is not in alignment with your prayer, in other words, if you don't have coherence, okay, psychological coherence, then what you pray for will not happen. It can't happen because you're working against yourself in here, in the kingdom. Jesus Christ said the kingdom is within. Okay? So for example, if you are praying for, let's say, a job or money, and in your subconscious, you're not sure that you could do the job, okay, that's doubt. Okay? Or maybe you just don't feel that you're qualified. That's doubt. Now you have that incoherence. Okay? Psychological coherence means that your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, and the superconscious, which is God, is all in alignment. Okay? So God can only work off of your subconscious. That's it. Your subconscious is what you believe to be true. The roots of your subconscious is what you believe to be true. For example, if you believe in God, then okay, there you go. But you have to believe in what you're praying for. What are you praying for? Okay, so in Mark 11:24, ask, believe, receive. Okay? When you ask, you have to believe in what it is you're asking. Okay? You have to believe in whatever it is you're asking for. You have to believe it's possible. You have to believe you deserve it. You have to believe you're worthy of it in order for God to deliver it. Okay? You cannot have a defeatist attitude inside and then pray for something, and God deliver it to you. That it doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. So the reason why it doesn't work that way is because you're working against yourself. Yourself. You're not your body, you're not your name, you're that spirit that lives in here and works in here. And that spirit is connected to God, and that's the spiritual. Okay? The physical is the physical world, everything out here. But everything in here expresses out here. The universal law of coherence. This is part of the God knows your heart thing. Okay? Because it's expressed right here in your immediate vicinity. What kind of desk do you have at work? Is your desk orderly? Is it chaotic? Is it messy? Is it dirty? Whatever. Okay? It's a reflection of how you are in here, how you are in here. How's your car? Is your car messy? Is your car, chaotic? You have clothes and things and all just thrown all over your car. That's how you are in here. It's a reflection. It's a reflection of you. How is your house? Is your house orderly? Is it clean? Right? That's a reflection of how you are in here. It's going to be expressed out here. And this is why, if you're a trained observer, people cannot hide from you. I'm just saying, it's just what it is. So let's say you want love, but you expect rejection, or you fear rejection. What does the topic become? Rejection. In your subconscious. You can pray for love all you want. If you don't get rid of it in your subconscious, your prayer will not be answered. It can't be answered because you're pushing back against it. This is what coherence means. Okay? This is what coherence means. So you have to believe in what it is you're asking. So let's say you start realistically. So when I started with money affirmations, I wanted to test it. I don't do it anymore. I haven't done it for years. But I wanted to test it. So I started with $20. Okay, $20 came. Then I went to $50. Then I went to $100. Then I went to, I think, $300. And then $500. I worked my way up to $5,000. And those amounts still came. But they came in contracts. So I used to write a $5,000 affirmation. I used to get 2 contracts. I wrote it again, get 2 more contracts. So you have to spot these manifestations of yours. Okay? You have to understand what it is, especially if you believe in God. If you believe in God, if you believe in higher self, source, universe, all of that, those are all synonyms for God. Because we're all the same in here. We're all awareness, okay? Then you have to see everything as a blessing. You have to see everything, okay, as meant for you from God. And how do you do that? Well, you increase your awareness. What about the bad things that happen? It's just the lack of. You were born in love energy. You were born in the energy of God. That's what's under all the negative emotions. Anxiety, fear, guilt, shame, worry, all of that. It's just piled on that love energy. God is love. God does not judge. God never judges. We do. We judge. I judge for me, you judge for you. Okay? Because the decisions that you make, right, have results. Those results, if the decisions are made in negativity, are not going to turn out positive. Okay? Sorry to burst your bubble, but it's not going to turn out positive. It's going to turn out negative. The decisions that you make in frustration, okay, this is why when you make a major decision, you should be happy. Okay? Don't make decisions when you're angry. Don't make decisions don't do that. Okay? When you're angry, you're having a disagreement with your loved one or your significant other or whatever. Don't make any decisions. Let it cool down. Okay? Let it relax, let the energy dissipate. And when you feel good, now you make the decision. Because when you make a decision in anger, okay, or worry, all the negative emotions, or anxiety, it's not going to turn out good. It's just the way it is. Okay? And you'll feel it. You will feel it. And this is judgment. This is the judgment that gets passed on us, but it's a reaction of us. Okay? It's a reflection of the results that are produced by our actions. Okay? So if you look at the subconscious tree, okay, the actions are the fruits. You will know them by their fruits. You've heard that before. Okay? You will know them by their fruits. The actions or the fruits are dictated by the paradigm or the trunk of the tree. The paradigm is the way you see the world, your attitude towards the world. Okay, now if you go further down the tree, you get to the roots. The roots are your subconscious core beliefs, things that you believe to be true. That forms your paradigm forms your actions bring you results. There's so many people now that are taking medicine, so many people that go to therapy every week, you know? A lot of that is expensive, and people do not know that they can remedy a lot of these things on their own, or at least help the process if there's really a medical issue. If there's a serious medical issue, they can help. I work with a lot of kids with autism. Over the years, I've worked with this one guy. He had autism. His father came in. He said, you know, I just want to tell you my son has autism. He has a mild form of autism. He doesn't learn like everybody else. And I said, it's okay, don't worry. Because I felt for the father, right? He wants to let me know. And I said, that's okay, don't worry. I'm going to teach him like I teach everybody else. And I started teaching him. And pretty soon he was really good. He was a very good guitarist. He had gone to guitar lessons. And I helped him find his voice. And not just find his voice, find his way out. His way out from here, which is what I do. Okay, the prison is here. And sometimes people cannot find their way out. They can't figure their way out. And this is because of psychological incoherence. This is because of self-doubt. Okay, this is because of insecurity, unsure, not knowing how to, how do I do this? How do I know I want to do X, Y, Z, but how do I pull it off? That's the question. Well, your voice, the vocalization exercise of the 4 pillars, okay, affirmations, meditation, vocalization, and visualization. The vocalization part frees you. It breaks you free of the societal conditioning, of the spell, however you want to say it. It is a spell of sorts because you're walking around, being projected onto by different elements in society, and you start believing that those elements are the thing. You start believing that that's the way. Even though Jesus Christ said the kingdom is within, right? And when you go within, I was within the kingdom for half an hour this morning, my meditation. When you go within, it's a different experience. You start to feel the expansion of all that is. 10 minutes a day. I do 30, you don't need 30. 10 minutes a day of stillness. Close your distractors and sit in the kingdom. And you can ask questions, or you can just observe. This morning I just observed. But when this happens, when you start to break free of the prison is here, wonderful things start to happen. So this boy he came to me when he just graduated high school. He was with me for many years. He started to find himself. When you find your voice, you find yourself. Then he started to sing and play really, really well. Then he started to open my shows. I used to do shows when I was in entertainment. I had 4 simultaneous careers. That was one of them. It was probably the most visible. So he started to open my shows. He was one of the opening acts. Then he became my steady opening act. Then we produced a record album for him, a CD, and then a EP. Okay, and these things are on iTunes. These things are there. If you wanna look him up, go ahead. Darren Chinen, Chinen is his last name. Darrin is his first name. Look him up. He's doing incredible things. He just got his master's in education. He became a teacher. Okay, but first, he got out of prison. Then he started to believe in himself. Okay, he started to believe in himself, and when that happened, the psychological coherence happens. Why? Because if you don't believe, or if you're scared, or if you're doubtful, or if you question what it is you're asking for, now there's incoherence. So everything is mind, body, spirit, and it all needs to be in alignment. Okay, so your mind, what you think, okay, your body is your subconscious. Your subconscious is a culmination of all of your senses. Dr. Joe Dispenza says it another way. He says, your body has learned to do whatever it is better than you. And what he means is your subconscious has taken over, right? That's 95% of your actions in your life. And it knows how to do it better than your conscious mind because you've committed it to your subconscious. And when you do that, it's like driving a car. You don't need to learn how to drive every morning. You don't need to learn how to brush your teeth every morning. You commit it to your subconscious. When you learn how to play an instrument, a guitar, a piano, a violin, you commit it to your subconscious. When you learn how to paint, when you do artistic things, you commit it to your subconscious. Your subconscious knows how. Your body knows how better than your conscious mind because you're repeating a process, repetition in the subconscious. When you start to believe in yourself, guess what happens? Your subconscious goes, oh, we believe in ourselves? Okay. And then it becomes wash, rinse, repeat. Your subconscious will repeat it. Guess what happens if there's fear in your subconscious? Guess what happens if there's doubt in your subconscious? Your subconscious goes, oh, we're doubting ourselves? Okay. And then you doubt yourself over and over and over again. And then you think you cannot, right? You think, it's hopeless. Some people think that they have no recourse in life. Some people think that, oh, I can't do anything about this. Wrong. You can do everything about this. Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. The vocalization will pull you out. The visualization will show you where you're going. So I have videos that I give to my clients, right? These help, these assist with visualization because some people cannot imagine anything other than their present circumstances, and you need to be pulled out of it. Okay, if you go on YouTube, there's tons of resources like that. Okay, but visualize, learn to imagine. The reason why people cannot imagine or don't imagine very much is because early in life, you have been taught, you have been conditioned to believe that visualization, imagination, right? All these, it's a fantasy, right? That you shouldn't do this because it's immature. So you leave it behind. And what do? You follow the physical world. Okay? You leave your imagination and you follow the schooling, right? And then you get into college, and then you get into the degree, and then you get into the physical world systems. And now you're in the physical world. And now the physical world gives you your living. And now the physical world has made it possible for you to buy the car, the home, whatever it is. And now your belief, your faith, and your trust is in the physical world. Why? Well, it's giving you everything, right? Wrong. There's the spiritual world in here. I coach executives, and when I coach my executives, I pull them back into the right hemisphere of the brain. For you religious people, everything moves to the right. The journey of Moses, the journey from the left brain to the right brain, is what it's talking about esoterically. Cast your net to the right side. Jesus lives at the right hand of the Father. Okay, so these things are all esoteric, but it all is an indication that, yeah, you need to move to the right. It's not political, okay? Just for people who might think right, left. No, it's not like that. Okay, why right? That's where connection is, in the right hemisphere of the brain. That's where creativity lives. Okay, you are a co-creator. You can create things. You're a co-creator with your higher power. If you call it source, if you call it God, if you call it Jesus Christ, if you call it Allah, whatever you call it, you're a co-creator with that. We call it the superconscious so that we don't offend anyone. Okay? But you're a co-creator with that. That energy is in here in you. You can create anything. You just have to believe. Okay? Ask, believe, receive. You just have to believe. How do you believe something? Well, repetition. Okay? I am so happy and grateful now that I'm confident. Thank you. Confident is a relaxed inner feeling. Okay? It's a chill kind of feeling. There's no fear. There's no anxiety. There's no doubt. There's no guilt. There's no shame. Most people live in the past. They live in yesterday, last year, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And all of those experiences add up in your subconscious. And there's a consensus that gets formed. And sometimes that results in, I'm not good enough. I don't think I can do that. Based upon the last time I failed, I don't think I can do that. Whatever your belief is in your subconscious looks for pathways to make it happen. Okay? So if there's doubt, what is your subconscious going to do? It's going to go, oh, let's look for the last time that I failed, or that I did bad, or did, whatever, negative stuff. And then it'll go, remember the time you failed the entry exam in college? Remember that? Oh, you remember the time you were in high school and you flunked out of math? Oh, remember the last time you were, right? Remember the last time you tried a business and you failed? And your subconscious will look for confirmation, and it will start feeding this information to you. And this is what we call a negative feedback loop. Negative feedback. It keeps going in a circle. Feedback, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until you break it. And some people go to therapy for it. Okay, if that makes you feel better. But you can do it yourself. You can help yourself. When you do your affirmations, okay, you are directing your subconscious. Here, let me show you. Let me show you what that looks like. I keep this here just to show everybody. These are affirmations. This is not journaling. These are affirmations, daily affirmations. Okay? It doesn't take a lot of time to write a sentence. It's very easy to do. It's not time consuming. But again, you have to believe in the process. When you believe in the process, it begins to manifest a lot quicker. Okay? A lot more quickly. In 2 weeks, you start to feel the shift. You start to feel more confident. You start to feel more relaxed. Try it. I am so happy and grateful now that I am confident. Thank you. That's a double I am. I am in here is who you are, the essence of who you are. I am. In the Bible, right? In Isaiah, God reveals himself to Moses and he says, tell the people of Israel, I am sent you. I'm just referencing the Bible because that's what I know. Okay? It's in all holy books, written in different ways, but it all points to the same thing because all human beings have awareness. We are all one through awareness. What does the meditation do? It sharpens your skill of listening, of feeling, intuition. You have divine guidance if you tap into it, if you allow it, if you don't dismiss it by your left reptilian brain, which is the ego. The ego lives on the left side. Okay, the ego says, no, that's okay. Because the ego thinks it knows best, right? No, that's okay. We're gonna go over there. If you're driving down the street and you get that urge to turn right, you get that intuition, that intuitive thought to turn right, but your ego in the left brain, the logic, okay, says, no, that's all right. We'll go to the next light. And then you get stuck in the traffic jam, and what do? You go, I knew I was supposed to turn there. Because you did know. You really did know. That's intuition. When you meditate, okay, when you are still for 10 minutes a day, I did a half an hour today. That's a little much, but yeah, you can do a half hour if you want to. Sometimes I do an hour. But when you start to meditate more often, you hear that or you feel that feeling. It's not a voice. You hear it in your voice sometimes, but it's a feeling. And pretty soon you can ask, and that feeling will direct you. Sometimes when I'm going about my day, I ask, should I do this? And then I get the feeling. When I bought my first new car in 2007, I relied on my intuition throughout the whole process. The guy said, you want to take a look at some used cars? And I go, what do I say? And the feeling was yes. And I said, yes. And he took me, he goes, do you see anything you like? And I'm checking in. And the answer was no. I said, no. Eventually, I walked out with a $57,000 signature, no down payment, sports car. But I checked in constantly. I didn't know what my credit score was. I didn't know anything. We were in the middle of a recession. The following year, the stock market just went all the way down. The good news was that I had a 2% interest rate. That was good news. But if you follow intuitive thought, you'll get farther ahead in life. The only thing you have to do is believe in what it is you're asking for. So in other words, if you're asking to win the lottery and you've never won a lottery and you've never had that much money and whatever, you have to start small because you have to be able to believe it. Okay, some people are reaching, they're reaching in their affirmations, they're reaching in their subconscious. If your subconscious can't conceptualize what it is you're asking for, good luck. Then it's a crapshoot. Then it's a 50-50. But when you believe in what it is you're asking, you will receive it. So this is why I did small affirmations and get bigger. Okay, so do that. Everything in the universe works like that. Everything starts small and grows, including your subconscious. It works the same way. Okay. So your emotional state also affects your heart. Okay. We work with the vagus nerve. It's one of 12 cranial nerves. That's the vocalization process. The cranial nerve actually is like a barometer for your whole body. It goes down, okay, through the throat chakra. It goes into the heart chakra, and it also spreads in other parts of the body. Okay, it's the longest cranial nerve. Why is this important? Because first we open your heart, your throat chakra, Next is the heart chakra. So some of my clients, when they hit a certain tone, right, tears. They just break down in tears. I have this one army vet right now. It's a female. It's a girl, a lady. And she goes to a certain point and she hits a certain note and she breaks down in tears. And it's a process. She's been doing this for quite a while. And the tears have happened pretty consistently in the past 3 or 4 weeks. So this is a thing. And it's a thing because we're humans. Okay? So your emotional state affects your heart. Why is this important? Because when you feel good about something, your heart starts to palpitate. Okay? You ever do that? You think of something and you go, wow, yeah, you get excited about it, your heart starts going like that. Okay? When your heart starts doing that, you are bringing what it is to you. So you raise a human being's vibration the same way you tune an instrument. The same way you tune an instrument. Through their voice. Every single one of my clients raise their vibration. What happens when you raise a human's vibration? Their mood gets better. Anxiety goes away. Okay, worry relaxes or goes away. All of these things. Some of my clients are on medicine. I don't ask. But then towards the 4-month mark, 5-month mark, some of them 9 months, this one lady that brought her teenage daughter, and she was 14, and she had a bad episode with ecstasy when she was 13. 12. So for 2 years, she was in therapy. For 2 years, she was taking antidepressants. And one day, 9 months into her, we call it cycles. We don't call it treatments. We cannot speak like medical professionals, okay? But this is a spiritual process. This is about you in here, okay? But 9 months into the cycles, she sends me a text. She goes, I am so very happy Michelle got off her antidepressant meds. And I was like, yeah. And that's why I teach. That gives me a high. That makes me feel good. That raises my vibration. And that's my motivation. Success stories like that is my motivation. And I get them all the time. All the time. If you want to see stories about, the motivation or comments, just go to Here For You Life Coaching, Honolulu, Hawaii. Okay, I'm in Hawaii. And go and look on Google, Here For You Life Coaching, Honolulu, Hawaii, and read our reviews. We only have 5-star reviews because this works in everyone, every single person. Nobody fails unless they don't want to do it, right? But this is because they're human beings. So with the vagus nerve, which is how doctors understand it, I had a psychiatrist and a psychologist that were kind of like, they had a WTF moment, right? Both of them. I've had several psychologists, but one of them had a WTF moment, right? And I asked him, I said, do you feel the confidence level up? And he goes, yeah, vagus nerve. He knew exactly what it was, right? He's a brain guy. And I said, well, how would you describe this feeling? He goes, yeah, I don't know how to describe this. Because it's spiritual, it's in here. The psychiatrist, right? Psychiatrist after the 4th session, and he's a brain guy. He writes prescriptions for medicines every day, right? And I'm like, well, doc, what do you think? And he's like, I feel it. I just can't put my finger on it. And he couldn't explain it. He could not explain it. and he was a psychiatrist. Okay. So anyway, does Jack have a question? I'm just about ready to leave. Anyway, I have to leave because I have clients like all day today. It's 7:56. We're here at 7 a.m. every morning, so we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Jay is over here giving me the cue. Hey, Eveline, Eveline. Yeah. Okay, let me do this. There we go. There we go. Eveline, good morning. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. All right, so we're